Exclusive contracted novel by Falun Novel Network. Champion Sun, reported cheating by Jianwen at the beginning. Zhu Yunxuan traveled through the early Ming dynasty and became the grandson of Zhu Yuanzhang. At the time of Zhu Biao's death, Zhu Yuanzhang wanted to select an heir from among the imperial grandchildren. I originally wanted to be a salted fish grandson. However, in order to show himself, Zhu Yunwen took Zhu Yunxuan's pseudonym to participate in the imperial examination. I want to use Zhu Yunxian as a stepping stone to ascend the throne. As a result, Zhu Yunxian passed the imperial examination as the top scorer. Zhu Yunwen was dissatisfied and reported Zhu Yunxian for cheating in the scientific examination. The two faced off in the Golden Palace. Writing poetry, comparing articles, discussing national policies, Zhu Yunxuan's blood ravages Zhu Yunwen. Zhu Yuanzhang was stunned. This is the Qilin dragon grandson of my Zhu family, how could he cheat? So, he decisively appointed Zhu Yunxian as the crown prince. After Zhu Yunxian solved one military and political problem after another. Zhu Yuanzhang completely let go and ordered Zhu Yunxian to supervise the country, and went on his own to travel and recuperate. From then on, Zhu Yunxian began his own era, conquering nobility, suppressing wealthy merchants, reforming the system, and colonizing overseas. Falun Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Top of the examination rank, Imperial son Zhu Yunxian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dominging Tian Fu. Inside the Fengtian Hall, there was a mournful and solemn atmosphere. To the Emperor, this is the admission list for this year's scientific examination. The Minister of Rites nervously handed over the list of candidates for the imperial examination to the elderly sitting on the throne. This old man has gray hair and slightly closed eyes. From a distance, the body appears slightly hunched. He is the highest ruler of the Ming dynasty. Zhu Yuanzhang. The voice of the Minister of Rites awakened the contemplative Zhu Yuanzhang. Zhu Yuanzhang slowly lifted his head. The sudden gleam in his eyes startled the Minister of Rites, who had been peeking at Zhu Yuanzhang, into a cold sweat. Zhu Yuanzhang gave a faint nod. Take over the admission list. The Minister of Rites dared not look directly at Zhu Yuanzhang's old and sad face anymore. Everyone knows at this point in time. Zhu Yuanzhang's emotions are unstable and he will definitely explode at any moment. It's best to choose quietness if you don't want to die. Now is the 25th year of the Hongwu reign of the Ming dynasty. Crown Prince Zhu Biao has just passed away. The imperial heir who Zhu Yuanzhang worked hard to cultivate left like this. That was his lifelong effort. Zhu Yuanzhang was in a state of infinite nostalgia and infinite pain towards Zhu Biao. There is no doubt that Zhu Biao is a good prince. Zhu Yuanzhang was also aware of Zhu Biao's kindness and generosity. Although in this regard, Zhu Biao is different from Zhu Yuanzhang. For this reason, Zhu Yuanzhang taught Zhu Biao many times. However, this does not prevent Zhu Biao from being Zhu Yuanzhang's favorite and highly anticipated crown prince. Now suddenly dead. The white-haired person sends the sadness of the black-haired person. It was difficult for Zhu Yuanzhang to recover for a while. Now Empress Ma has also passed away. That's the girl who accompanied him through difficult times. The two most important relatives passed away one after another. Gradually, Zhu Yuanzhang's emotions were almost out of control. However, even so, the governance of the Ming dynasty continued to operate in an orderly manner. At this critical time, the imperial examination in the Ming dynasty, an important event for selecting talents, was held as scheduled. Zhu Yuanzhang will not abolish public office for personal reasons. Even though he felt sad, he still ordered the Ministry of Rites to carry out the imperial examination in accordance with regulations. At this moment, Zhu Yuanzhang was holding the admission list for the scientific examination. Once again lost in thought. Having the strongest espionage system in this empire, the royal guards. Zhu Yuanzhang's news is extremely sensitive. The royal guards are an important weapon for him to control the overall situation. Zhu Yuanzhang knew that the current imperial examination was somewhat different from the past. The difference is that there are two special characters participating in this exam. They are Zhu Biao's two sons, Zhu Yunwen and Zhu Yunxuan. After Zhu Biao's death, the issue of the successor of the Ming dynasty was the most concerning issue for Zhu Yuanzhang. He is already old. We cannot keep the emperor down for generations to come. To whom shall the throne be passed? To other sons. Zhu Di, Zhu Xiu, Zhu Qi, and so on. However, Zhu Yuanzhang had long denied this choice. The fact that Zhu Di and other princes were sent to separate domains indicates that these sons are no longer destined for the throne. The only option currently is to choose from among the grandchildren. It must also be selected from among Zhu Biao's sons. At present, Zhu Yuanzhang is still observing. The heir of the empire must be cautious. In the current situation, we need to be both cautious and cautious. Zhu Yuanzhang knew that after Zhu Biao's death, the new heir to the empire faced significant problems. That is to say, no one can hold back the nobles of Huaishi, the proud soldiers and fierce generals who have made great contributions. These grandchildren, who can have such strength? Is it allowed to stew? Is he okay? Zhu Yuanzhang has yet to make a decision on the heir. Let the grandsons who have ideas about the throne gradually become restless. Zhu Yunwen is the most active one. After all, he is the eldest son among Zhu Biao's living sons. Zhu Yunwen knew he had an advantage. The eldest son is one of the advantages, and the rule of appointing the eldest rather than the youngest was personally established by Zhu Yuanzhang. Another advantage is that Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang likes himself very much. However, Zhu Yunwen still felt uneasy, or rather he was full of longing for the throne. So, unable to wait any longer, Zhu Yunwen decided to use his own strength to win the throne. In order to demonstrate one's abilities and demonstrate one's strength in front of Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, Zhu Yunwen decisively seized the opportunity to showcase himself. That is, he wants to win a good ranking by taking the imperial examination and make Zhu Yuanzhang look at him with admiration. Zhu Yunwen, who was deeply educated by the great Confucian scholars, had great confidence in his knowledge. At the same time, his idea received support from his teacher Huang Zicheng. Huang Zicheng also gave Zhu Yunwen an idea. To participate in the imperial examination, one must have a companion. This can further highlight Zhu Yunwen's strength. Red flowers must be accompanied by green leaves to appear very vibrant. So Zhu Yunwen pulled his younger brother Zhu Yunxian, whom he had never seen in person, to participate. All of this, Zhu Yunwen thought he had done without any leakage. However, the royal guards informed Zhu Yuanzhang of all the situations in detail. After learning about it, Zhu Yuanzhang pondered for a long time. Finally, Zhu Yunwen's actions were not stopped. Obviously. He also wants to test Zhu Yunwen's strength through this imperial examination. Let's see if this imperial grandson really has talent and can take on the important responsibilities of the empire. As for Zhu Yunxian, who has never shown any outstanding performance, even completely unknown, Zhu Yuanzhang never considered or paid attention to it. If it weren't for Zhu Yunwen intentionally pulling Zhu Yunxian out as a background board and stepping stone this time, Zhu Yuanzhang almost forgot about Zhu Biao and this son. Thinking of this, Zhu Yuanzhang gradually recovered from his contemplation. My eyes began to focus on the list of admitted candidates for this subject handed over by the Minister of Rites. First place in the imperial examination, Huiyuan, Zhu Xian. What, is it Zhu Xian? Zhu Yuanzhang's eyes, which were somewhat cloudy due to deep pain, instantly burst into a dazzling light. Because this Zhu Xian is the pseudonym of Zhu Yunxian. Zhu Yunxuan surprisingly won first place. How could this be possible? P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 2. Reported by Zhu Yunwen for cheating in scientific examinations. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Zhu Yuanzhang looked coldly at the Minister of Rites. Zhao Shangshu, are you sure this is the admission list for this imperial examination? Zhu Yuanzhang's words were like a cold winter wind, mixed with violence and blood. Zhao Shangshu quickly knelt down and said, Your Majesty, this is the result of all the grading officials' joint grading, and there is absolutely no problem with the results. Zhu Yuanzhang fell silent. Although due to emotional fluctuations, he is also somewhat suspicious. But he is more willing to believe that there should be no problem with the Minister of Rites. In fact, Zhu Yunwen and Zhu Yunxuan's participation in the imperial examination was not as simple or easy as it seemed on the surface. Zhu Yuanzhang played a driving role among them. He specifically instructed the royal guards to remind the two of their makeup and pseudonyms. At the same time, they also had the royal guards produce fake identity passports for the two of them. That is the Yellow Book of Fish Scales. This fish scale yellow book is a household registration book, which contains detailed information registration of a person, including their family. Only with the Yellow Book of Fish Scales and an ID card can one have a clear conscience and participate in the imperial examination. It can be said that Zhu Yuanzhang even took the initiative to help the two imperial grandsons falsify their identities. I have put in a lot of effort for this. Of course, Zhu Yuanzhang believed that there was no problem with the loyalty of the royal guards in handling affairs. Can we say that this result is true? Zhu Yuanzhang still had some doubts. But I didn't say much either. After all, there is still one final level, and I will personally test the true level of these students. Minister of Rites, we all agree with the ranking of the scores you have reviewed. Let's make it public. Arrange a time as soon as possible to have all Gongshi students attend the palace examination at Fengtian Hall. Gongshi is a student in the imperial examination. The name of the head is Huiyuan. The Minister of Rites did not say anything when he saw Zhu Yuanzhang. I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. This imperial examination invigilation is really not a human job. Finally passed the level. Zhu Yuanzhang has always attached great importance to the imperial examination. Once a case of favoritism and fraud is discovered, it has always been resolved with the bloodiest punishment. Those who died in scientific research cases do not know themselves. So, every time it's my turn to be responsible for the scientific examination. The examiners are all trembling. Afraid of any trouble. The Ministry of Rites, as it is their responsibility, cannot shirk the responsibility of invigilation. The public announcement of the scores for the imperial examination is one of the most anticipated things for every student participating in the examination. Because this means whether one can become an official of the empire. Whether one can shine on their reputation depends on their exam results. Sure enough, after the announcement of the list, everyone had both joy and worry. Some people are on the list, while others fall behind. Only when it comes to the top of the list, the voices of discussion from Huiyuan Zhu Xian continue to flow. However, after much discussion, no one knew who Zhu Xian was. The students who watched the rankings were somewhat surprised. Meanwhile, Zhu Yunwen, who was hiding in the crowd, had a pale face. Muttering to himself. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. I don't believe it, I absolutely don't believe it. For Zhu Yunxian, the top scorer in the exam is called Huiyuan. But my ranking is outside of the 20th place. Zhu Yunwen couldn't accept it. This is completely hitting his face. The green leaves completely covered the red flowers. How can this be accepted? The huge psychological gap made Zhu Yunwen's face somewhat distorted. There must be a problem. Zhu Yunxuan is uneducated and inexperienced. How could he possibly be the top scorer in the exam? There's a trick in here. Zhu Yunxuan must be cheating. Yes, he must have cheated. I want to report him. Zhu Yunwen is about to faint with anger. He couldn't accept this result. He believed that Zhu Yunxuan must have cheated in the Imperial examination. Otherwise, such outrageous results would not have been possible. At this time, only the emperor of the Ming dynasty, his grandfather Zhu Yuanzhang, could change the results of the exam. Zhu Yunwen believes that there is no other reason besides cheating. Although he doesn't pay much attention to Zhu Yunxuan, he definitely knows Zhu Yunxuan. Upon seeing the rankings, he immediately thought of the possibility of cheating. Subsequently, Zhu Yunwen felt more and more justified as he thought about it. So he decisively went to the palace and reported Zhu Yunxuan's cheating in the imperial examination to Zhu Yuanzhang. As for Zhu Yunwen, he has always remembered that Zhu Yunxuan, who ranked first in the imperial examination, is playing something in his palace. It's still difficult to make high-grade Baijiu only with drawings and specifications. Fortunately, we finally succeeded. So he was studying the brewing method of Baijiu. Zhu Yunxuan took a sip of the freshly brewed wine and then enjoyed it with a look on his face. It's high Baijiu. However, Zhu Yunxuan in front of him is not a person in history who has not even left his name behind. Or rather, he is no longer considered a person of this era. Zhu Yunxuan in front of him is a traveler. When he traveled to Daming, Zhu Biao passed away. In order to prevent the occurrence of unforeseeable disasters when Zhu Yuanzhang was in a state of constant happiness and anger. Zhu Yunxuan is extremely low-key. However, the essential golden finger for travelers has been credited. Zhu Yunxuan does not have a system. But it's a portable space. Space contains all things. Every day, Zhu Yunxuan can retrieve an item from this personal space. Anything is possible. Moreover, this portable space also has one characteristic. That is, if there is no active acquisition of items after many days. So the probability of obtaining higher level items will be higher in the future. The longer the interval, the higher the chance of obtaining powerful items. Also, after a long time, when obtaining an item, you can silently recite its function in your mind. Then you will most likely obtain the items you want from your personal space. As for whether there are any other benefits. At present, Zhu Yunxuan has not discovered it and can only wait for further exploration. For this portable space, Zhu Yunxuan's evaluation is very strong. Zhu Yunxuan knew that as long as he could live with peace of mind. Get items every few days. After a certain amount of time, I will be invincible. However, the trees desire stillness while the wind does not stop. How could Zhu Yunwen's intention of inviting Zhu Yunxuan to participate in the imperial examination be concealed from him? After rejecting without success, Zhu Yunxuan was angry. He silently recited in his heart, request to obtain the item that will definitely win first place in the exam. Then retrieve items from your personal space. Due to traveling for a month, in order to obtain better items, Zhu Yunxuan has been unable to obtain the ninja. Now it's just possible to obtain the items you want through meditation. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining the Wenqing template. Would you like to bind it? Can you still obtain such a powerful item? Zhu Yunxuan is drunk. That's needless to say, choose binding. Zhu Yunxuan felt a sudden surge of fresh air approaching him. The brain is unprecedentedly ethereal. Memory has suddenly increased. All the content of books that he had seen before appeared accurately in Zhu Yunxuan's mind. Of course, there is also ancient knowledge. With the Wenqing template, winning the imperial examination is simply not too easy for Zhu Yunxuan. Of course, for Zhu Yunxuan, it's not a big deal to take the exam. This is just for fun. At that time, I couldn't stand Zhu Yunwen's disgusting face. Suddenly, a sharp voice interrupted Zhu Yunxuan, who was tasting wine. Your Majesty has an order to select Zhu Yunxuan to enter the palace. It's the voice of a eunuch. After all, it has been over a month since I traveled. Zhu Yunxuan still knows many people. Knowing that the eunuch in front of him was Zhu Yuanzhang's personal eunuch. Due to Zhu Yunxuan being completely unknown for a long time. He is completely an air person. This eunuch doesn't have much respect either. When speaking, the tone was cold and indifferent. How dare a eunuch be arrogant? Zhu Yunxuan was too lazy to pay attention to him. I didn't expect Zhu Yuanzhang to see him at this time. Coincidentally, he also wanted to meet the founding ruler of the Ming dynasty. Meet your cheap grandfather. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 3 Report my cheating, Zhu Yunwen, you deserve. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. An hour ago. Zhu Yunwen arrived at the palace, preparing to report Zhu Yunxuan's cheating to Zhu Yuanzhang. However, upon arriving at the palace, he just remembered that it was also illegal to take the imperial examination under his own name. Reporting Zhu Yunxuan is exposing his participation in the imperial examination. What to do? Zhu Yunwen hesitated a bit. However, he remembered that Zhu Yunxuan had won the top spot in the imperial examination. He felt as uncomfortable in his heart as eating a fly. No, I can't bear to part with my child, and I can't keep a wolf in check. So Zhu Yunwen's heart hardened and he recounted in detail the fact that he and Zhu Yunxuan had participated in the imperial examination together. He didn't know. Zhu Yuanzhang already knew. After listening to Zhu Yunwen's report, Zhu Yuanzhang didn't understand why Zhu Yunwen reported himself. Subsequently, Zhu Yuanzhang's expression moved and his face turned cold. Yunwen, how dare you impersonate yourself to participate in the scientific examination? It's really audacious. Do you know of sin? Someone, go and call the accomplice Zhu Yunxuan as well. Soon, Zhu Yunxuan arrived at the main hall of the palace. Grandson Zhu Yunxuan has seen Grandpa Huang. Zhu Yuanzhang remembered the ranking of the Ministry of Rites. Zhu Yunxuan surprisingly ranked first in the current imperial examination. Although Zhu Yuanzhang did not believe it, he was still his grandson. What if it's true? He showed a rare kind smile. Yunxian, get up. Zhu Yunxuan stood up in response. Glancing around with eyes. He saw Zhu Yunwen. At this moment, Zhu Yunwen's face remained calm. But the sharp Zhu Yunxuan saw a sneer in Zhu Yunwen's eyes. Zhu Yunxuan is somewhat indifferent. Then, he saw Zhu Yuanzhang on the throne. The old man with delicate white hair. Although he is his own grandfather, to be precise, he is also the first time he has met Zhu Yuanzhang. This is the beginning of a bull, Zhu Yuanzhang, who built the toughest Han dynasty. Zhu Yunxuan knew too much about Zhu Yuanzhang's great achievements. It can be said that in his heart, Zhu Yunxuan still greatly admired Zhu Yuanzhang. I don't know why I called myself here. Zhu Yunxuan stood quietly on the side, not speaking. On the side, Zhu Yunwen saw that Zhu Yuanzhang had shown a smile towards Zhu Yunxuan. Feeling somewhat displeased, he sneered in his heart and spoke up. Grandpa Huang, his grandson and younger brother Xian, carrying their grandfather behind their backs, pretended to participate in the imperial examination and requested Grandpa Huang to redeem themselves. Zhu Yunwen pretended to apologize to Zhu Yuanzhang. But the purpose of grandchildren taking exams is to achieve good grades and make Grandpa happy. Speaking, Zhu Yunwen sold a cute one. Grandpa, my grandson hopes Grandpa can be happy. Zhu Yuanzhang, who lost his son in his later years, was weak in terms of family ties. Zhu Yunwen's words happened to touch on Zhu Yuanzhang's emotional point, making him seem to be in a better mood. Grandpa Huang, for this exam, my pseudonym is Zhu Yunwen, and Xuandi's pseudonym is Zhu Xian. After the announcement of the competition, I saw that Xuandi actually ranked first. I'm pretty sure, Brother Xian must have cheated. Please investigate thoroughly, Grandpa. Zhu Yuanzhang was taken aback, wondering what the situation was. I never knew why Zhu Yunwen wanted to reveal his secret participation in the scientific examination. Originally, Zhu Yunwen was going to report Zhu Yunxuan for cheating. It is hard for Zhu Yuanzhang to believe that Zhu Yunxuan ranked first in the exam, since it was reported by Zhu Yunwen. Zhu Yuanzhang also took the opportunity to investigate what the situation was. If it is really cheating, even the emperor and grandson will not be lenient. The great Ming River and mountains that Zhu Yuanzhang worked hard to build, he absolutely does not allow anyone to sabotage. Cheating in scientific examinations and corruption are the two behaviors he hates the most. Thinking of this, Zhu Yuanzhang's gaze towards Zhu Yunxuan became much more indifferent. Yunxian, did you cheat? If we admit it now, we can handle it leniently. We are a commonly used catchphrase by Zhu Yuanzhang, a unique self-proclaimed phrase in history. Zhu Yuanzhang said it was a lenient treatment, but in fact, if Zhu Yunxuan really cheated, that is about to face the wrath of thunder. And what about Zhu Yunxuan? Zhu Yunxuan looked at Zhu Yunwen with some confusion at the moment. What does this sand sculpture want? Report me for cheating. You deserve it too. Originally, Zhu Yunxuan was too lazy to talk to Zhu Yunwen and participate in the scientific examination together, but it was just Zhu Yunwen's proactive provocation. Unexpectedly, the more he made concessions, the more enthusiastic Zhu Yunwen became. Upon hearing Zhu Yuanzhang's inquiry, Zhu Yunxuan hasn't spoken yet. Zhu Yunwen continued. Zhu Yunxuan, what level of proficiency are you? I don't know yet. I've been ignorant all day and haven't even read a few articles. You, a guy who doesn't know how many big characters, can take the first place in the Imperial examination. You're really a genius in the world. Zhu Yuanzhang heard Zhu Yunwen say that he didn't know a few big characters. His face gradually turned cold. What big characters are useless if you don't recognize a few? However, this unhappiness does not affect his hatred towards cheating in scientific examinations. Whether Zhu Yunxuan really cheated is currently the most concerning concern for Zhu Yuanzhang. He is preparing to see how the emperor and grandson, who have never received his attention, will respond. Zhu Yunxuan smiled as he watched Zhu Yunwen's performance. Not speaking. Zhu Yunwen spoke while observing Zhu Yunxuan. The person who can become the crown prince and become the emperor in the end. Zhu Yunwen is not yet completely mentally disabled. He doesn't have any evidence either. But what is said is not unfounded. He is based on Zhu Yunxuan's daily performance and his observations. It is determined that Zhu Yunxuan cheated in the scientific examination. Under his own questioning, Zhu Yunxuan didn't say a word. Zhu Yunwen gradually gained momentum. Not speaking. Only those who are at fault and those who have done something wrong will remain silent under questioning. Zhu Yunxuan must have cheated, there must be some tricks in his exam results. Brother Xian, how did you obtain the content of the exam paper? Who did you collude with? Who helped you cheat? What other conspirators do you have? Brother Xian, be lenient in confessing and strict in resisting. As long as you honestly explain, Grandpa Huang will forgive you. The more Zhu Yunwen spoke, the more he became enthusiastic and felt that what he said made sense. Even the process of how Zhu Yunxuan colluded with the examiner and how to cheat was well conceived in my mind. Zhu Yuanzhang remained silent. He is observing this rare grandson. I found that Zhu Yunxuan's face had always been calm. It seems that there is no rush to explain, and Zhu Yunwen is allowed to speak those questioning words. It is such a calm attitude that Mount Taishan collapses without changing his face, which is very rare. I saw that Zhu Yunwen's question was almost there. Zhu Yunxuan said calmly. Have you said enough? Zhu Yunwen was taken aback. What does it mean? Hard-mouthed, right? However, the following few words from Zhu Yunxuan made Zhu Yunwen vomit blood. Zhu Yunwen, what are you? Are you questioning me? Do you also deserve it? I can tell you very clearly that I, Zhu Yunxuan, did not cheat. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 4. Zhu Yunwen, are you at the kindergarten level? You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Zhu Yunxuan's voice gradually cooled down. You said I cheated, did I cheat? Do you have any evidence? Ignorance and lack of skills. Your talent is higher than mine. I'm really laughing. Zhu Yunxuan's continuous questioning, like a machine gun, made Zhu Yunwen's 7 orifices smoke with anger. Finally, Zhu Yunxian doubted Zhu Yunwen's talent. It even made Zhu Yunwen's eyes turn red. Brother Xian, what do you mean by this? What's wrong with my talent? If you cheat, then cheat. How can you doubt my talent? Are you comparable to me? Zhu Yunwen has always been educated by great scholars. Huang Zicheng. Chitai. They are all great scholars. Even they praised themselves, but what Zhu Yunxian said was not as good as him. Zhu Yunwen couldn't bear it. Throughout, Zhu Yuanzhang remained silent. But quietly watching the 2 grandchildren perform. What Zhu Yuanzhang disliked the most was cowardice, not daring to act. This is also why he has always criticized the Crown Prince Zhu Biao, that's too kind. Zhu Yunxuan's continuous domineering questioning, although somewhat vulgar in tone, was somewhat appreciated by Zhu Yuanzhang for its domineering and arrogant demeanor. This imperial grandson is a bit interesting. Zhu Yunwen no longer has the usual composure. Being provoked by Zhu Yunxian, he suddenly became angry. Brother Xian, you said you didn't cheat, but you said I'm not as talented as you. Saying it's boring, let's compare it. By comparison, your talent and knowledge will be clear at a glance. Don't refuse to admit cheating when the time comes. Zhu Yunxian smiled. Zhu Yunwen, when it comes to it, I should call you brother. If you falsely accuse me of cheating, I won't call you brother in the future. Although you really don't deserve to compete with me to learn, it's not a problem to play with you. Zhu Yunxuan's merciless words made Zhu Yunwen furious. He didn't expect his younger brother, whom he had never paid much attention to. Surprisingly, such a venomous tongue. Zhu Yunwen turned to Zhu Yuanzhang and said. Grandpa Huang, please have your grandson compare with Zhu Yunxian. The grandson needs to prove with facts that Zhu Yunxian must have cheated. Zhu Yuanzhang, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke now. Yunxian, be polite to your brother. Although watching Zhu Yunxian confront Zhu Yunwen is quite satisfying. But after all, as an elder, Zhu Yuanzhang still needs to correct his brotherly feelings. At this moment, Zhu Yunxian obediently said. Son understands. Grandpa, rest assured. Son has always respected his elder brother. Zhu Yuanzhang nodded and continued. Since Yunwen asked you two to compete in order to learn, we agreed. Someone, call in the Minister of Rites. Quickly, the Minister of Rites, who had been waiting outside the hall, walked in. Just now, from the eunuch Xian Jian's mouth, he already knew that the students in this imperial examination had 2 grandsons. This is his dereliction of duty and lax review and control. Thinking of Zhu Yuanzhang's anger, his legs and stomach were trembling. Entered the main hall. The Minister of Rites knelt down on the ground with a thud. Your Majesty, please punish me for my negligence. Zhu Yuanzhang looked coldly at the kneeling Minister of Rites. Punishment is definitely necessary. Zhu Yuanzhang wouldn't tell the Minister of Rites. He found a way to have his two grandsons take the exam himself. Being a ruler, majestic, mysterious, is the most basic strategy. Get up. We called you here to test the talents of our two grandsons. If you can test the true talents and knowledge of both of them, we will spare your life and not hold you accountable for your inspection. Teach the talents of two imperial grandsons. The Minister of Rites turned his gaze towards Zhu Yunwen and Zhu Yunxuan. I have seen two royal grandsons, your highnesses. Zhu Yunwen didn't even glance at the Minister of Rites. His heart was filled with resentment towards Zhu Yunxuan. Zhu Yunxuan nodded lightly to the Minister of Rites. After all, he doesn't know each other, and he won't actively approach them. Zhu Yuanzhang smiled and said, "Let's start the exam." Subsequently, the Minister of Rites began the first assessment question. Your Highnesses, for this first question, let's take the 4 books and 5 classics exam. This is also a mandatory subject for scientific examinations. Zhu Yunwen and Zhu Yunxuan both nodded. Zhu Yunwen's eyes unconsciously showed a happy expression. He was well educated by the great Confucian scholars and naturally memorized Confucian classics like a stream. He has confidence in this point. As for Zhu Yunxuan, his laughter was not in his expression, and he couldn't tell anything. The Minister of Rites corrected his voice. In this way, each person will have 10 questions, and each of the 10 questions will answer me with the previous sentence and the next sentence in response to Emperor Sunday. The winner is the one who answers all correctly. Zhu Yunxuan gave a faint smile. That's it, this teaching method is too low. However, he did not object. It doesn't matter how he takes the exam. Firstly, Zhu Yunwen, who is Chang's son, comes first. The first question, Confucius said. Learn and practice at the right time. Please say the next sentence. The next sentence is. No problem. The second question. Xingzi said, I reflect on myself 3 times a day. Please say the next sentence. The next sentence is. Are you unfaithful for plotting for others? Do you not believe in making friends? Do you not learn how to pass it on? The third question. Confucius said. The 10th question. Xingzi said, a scholar cannot be without perseverance. The task is heavy and the road is long. Please say the next sentence. Zhu Yunwen smiled and answered. The next sentence is, one regards it as one's own responsibility, isn't it also important? If one dies and follows oneself, isn't it also far away? Zhu Yunxuan on the side was all dumbfounded. What does this mean? Is this a kindergarten question? All the simplest questions in the Analects. Any elementary school student can do it. The Minister of Rites, this old immortal, has his butt tilted to the sky. Congratulations to Emperor Yunwen, all 10 questions are correct. Congratulations to Your Majesty, Emperor Sun's outstanding literary talent is the blessing of my great Ming. The Minister of Rites did not forget to praise Zhu Yunwen. Zhu Yuanzhang didn't have much culture, so he was very happy to see his grandson Zhu Yunwen answering fluently. Due to his background as a monk, Zhu Yuanzhang had almost no cultural level throughout his life. This uneducated person always has an unconscious sense of inferiority in their heart. I always feel that those talented scholars often mock me. That's why Zhu Yuanzhang always appointed Lu Bowen, but did not place him in high position. There are always reasons to be cautious. At the slightest disturbance, Zhu Yuanzhang believed that Lu Bowen was not in the same heart as himself. This kind of inferiority complex due to insufficient cultural level extends to the court. Produce an extremely important and far-reaching event. That's the prison of words. At the end of the day, the literary inquisition was Zhu Yuanzhang's suspicion that those literati were discussing themselves behind their backs and slandering the government behind their backs. As for whether it is true or not, it is a matter of personal preference and wisdom. So, watching Zhu Yunwen answer fluently at this moment, Zhu Yuanzhang couldn't help but burst into laughter. Zhu Yunwen couldn't conceal his pride as he looked at Grandpa Huang's happy expression. "Brother Xian, it's your turn." Zhu Yunxian looked at Zhu Yunwen as if he were looking at a fool. "Zhu Yunwen, do you think you are very powerful? Do people in their 20s know these things? You're probably a fool." Zhu Yunwen's face was instantly embarrassed, and then turned iron blue. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 5. Assessment in front of Lao Zhu, release water, do not know death. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Zhu Yuanzhang was also confused by Zhu Yunxuan's sudden provocation. "Yunxian, did your elder brother Yunwen answer any questions?" Zhu Yunxian replied. "This is not just a problem, it's simply too problematic. Grandpa Huang doesn't know." The questions answered by Zhu Yunwen are just something that even elementary school students know. Oh. No, every child student knows. Such a question, taking it out is simply laughable and shameful to my royal family. Zhu Yunxian bluntly pointed out how outrageous the 10 questions Confucius said that Zhu Yunwen answered were. After listening, Zhu Yuanzhang gradually felt it. Confucius and Xingzi's words, isn't that what every student starts learning? Zhao Shangshu, is that so? You dare to deceive us? Someone, take Zhao He out and put him in prison. Let the Ministry of Justice and the Royal Guards investigate for us to see if he still has any accomplices. Bastard, don't you know what the consequences are for those who deceive us? The Minister of Rites was completely bewildered. Just because the question was too simple, I would be arrested and imprisoned. I am so unfair. Your Majesty, I am wrongly accused. I am wrongly accused. Zhu Yuanzhang did not care how the Minister of Rites begged for mercy. The Crown Prince has just passed away, and he is in a rage. At the same time, he hates literati dancing and deceiving him the most. This Zhao Shangshu happened to hit the muzzle of the gun. Zhu Yunxian was also shocked by the decisive decision of Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang when he saw the situation of Zhao Shangshu. Looking at the Minister of Rites like a dead dog, Zhu Yunxian gave a cold smile. These great scholars have really forgotten the methods of the common emperor in front of them. Looking slightly sideways, Zhu Yunxian saw that Zhu Yunwen, like Zhao Shangshu, was trembling all over. I couldn't help but laugh. Report me for cheating. Don't end up stealing the chicken and losing the rice. Zhu Yunwen has always been the most favored grandson. Those great scholars, because he was the emperor's grandson, all relied on him for the education of Zhu Yunwen. The purpose is to cultivate Zhu Yunwen as a spokesperson for the spirit of these great scholars. Cultivate into a future emperor who will govern with great determination. As for how much practical knowledge Zhu Yunwen really learned, these are not crucial. As long as Zhu Yunwen accepts the thoughts of the great Confucian scholars and remains consistent with them, that's all. In the eyes of great scholars, the emperor only needs to be elevated as a symbol of the country's spirit. The governance of the country is entrusted to these literati. So, all the questions answered by Zhu Yunwen are the simplest. Zhu Yunxian felt no surprise at all. As the Minister of Rites was taken away, Zhu Yuanzhang ordered the Minister of Rites to present an audience. The newly arrived Minister of Rites watched as the Minister of Rites was dragged away like a dead dog. He is also trembling with fear. Dare not speak, let alone ask. The anger of the Emperor's thunder is not something that a small servant can withstand. Zhu Yuanzhang said to the new Minister of Rites. Just now, the Minister of Rites from your Ministry of Rites treated us like fools just because he deceived us. You see his fate, I hope you don't disappoint us. The Minister of Rites quickly nodded. Let's let you assess the two grandsons, even if you ask the most difficult question. As long as you can test the strength of two imperial grandsons, it's your credit. The Minister of Rites nodded again and said yes. At this moment, he knew why the Minister of Rites had been imprisoned. It turns out that the assessment was released. Of course, the Minister of Rites did not want to offend the two grandsons. After all, those with a little knowledge know that future emperors are likely to be selected from among the grandchildren. However, there is a choice between offending the emperor and offending the emperor and grandson. He will definitely choose to offend the emperor and grandson. After all, offending Zhu Yuanzhang would mean losing one's head. Little did you know that the scene of the Hu Weiyong case, where tens of thousands of people were all beheaded, is still vividly remembered. However, just as the Minister of Rites was preparing to start assessing Zhu Yunxuan and Zhu Yunwen, Zhu Yunwen won't do it anymore. Others fear Zhu Yuanzhang. Zhu Yunwen is not too afraid. After all, for a long time, Zhu Yuanzhang has been a kind and amiable grandfather in front of the emperor and grandson. Grandpa Huang's butcher's knife is always only aimed at outsiders. Grandpa Huang, this is unfair. Zhu Yuanzhang was puzzled and said, where is it unfair? It's definitely unfair. I have already answered 10 questions correctly, and Brother Xian has not answered any questions so far. It must be unfair. Zhu Yuanzhang nodded. So, Li Shilang, you can go and assess Yunxuan's 10 questions like the previous Minister of Rites. The Minister of Rites quickly nodded in agreement. Zhu Yunwen looked at Zhu Yunxian with provocative eyes. Zhu Yunxian laughed heartily. No problem, Grandpa Huang hopes to assess me, so naturally I will follow Grandpa Huang's advice. Zhu Yunxuan's behavior was appropriate, causing Zhu Yuanzhang to nod secretly. Not being humble or arrogant, he is a good seedling. Subsequently, the Minister of Rites learned from the previous experiences of the Minister of Rites. After careful consideration for a long time, just started saying, His Highness, then I will start the assessment. Zhu Yunxian smiled and nodded. However, the subsequent assessment directly stunned Zhu Yuanzhang and Zhu Yunwen. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 6 Zhu Yunxian. It's all just pediatrics. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Being able to serve as a Minister of Rites must be a scholar with profound knowledge. Next is the assessment of Zhu Yunxian. Every question raised by the Minister of Rites is extremely tricky. But for the sake of fairness, these issues still stem from the sequence of the 4 books and 5 classics. It's just that the problem is no longer something like Confucius said. But as the Kun hexagram in the Book of Changes states, Yin is suspected of Yang and must fight. Because it is suspected of having no Yang, it is called Dragon Yin. Please say the next sentence to the emperor and grandson. This kind of question made Zhu Yuanzhang look confused. Zhu Yunwen perked up his ears and couldn't hear what was being said clearly. I couldn't help but ask. What kind of suspicion? Is this from the Book of Changes? Zhu Yunwen's ignorant words made even the Minister of Rites unable to listen. But it's not easy to say anything. I just didn't hear it, however. After being asked by the Minister of Rites, Zhu Yunxian immediately said the next sentence. The next sentence is, I have not yet separated from its category, so it is called blood. The Xianhuang is a mixture of heaven and earth, with the Xianhuang being the same. Listening to Zhu Yunxuan's answer, the Minister of Rites was surprised. The Book of Changes is the most profound among the 4 books and 5 classics. Unexpectedly, such a difficult and tricky question was directly spoken by Emperor Zhu Yunxuan's grandson. Moreover, the reaction was extremely rapid. The Minister of Rites was somewhat surprised. It's not just a coincidence, is it? Since this question did not defeat Zhu Yunxian, the Minister of Rites proceeded to the next question. The next question is even more tricky. What is an inconspicuous sentence from the Book of Documents? What is a certain dialogue from Spring and Autumn? However, no matter how the Minister of Rites went wrong, Zhu Yunxuan answered all the questions fluently. And every question was answered extremely quickly. The reaction speed is breathtaking. Even in the end, the Minister of Rites had just spoken the first sentence. Zhu Yunxuan continued to memorize the entire article that followed. Less than half of a stick of incense has been burned, and all 10 questions have been answered. He kept asking questions and observing Zhu Yunxuan's Minister of Rites, his face full of disbelief. After asking the question, he turned around and fell to his knees with a thud. Your Majesty, Emperor Xian's grandson, Heavenly Zone Wonder, Heavenly Zone Wonder. All questions, no mistakes, all correct. Not only that, Emperor Xian's grandson also reacted extremely sensitively, always saying the answer as soon as the question was asked. Such a young hero, I can only call him a prodigy. I have been an official for many years, but it is the first time that I have met such a talented and knowledgeable young man. Wei Chen's admiration for Emperor Xian and Son's 5 body throwing himself to the ground. The Minister of Rites finished everything he had to say in one breath. The words were full of praise for Zhu Yunxuan. And our protagonist, Zhu Yunxuan. At this moment, his face remained indifferent. Although Zhu Yuanzhang's culture was not profound. But since becoming emperor, I have also actively worked hard to learn. He had never heard of the issue of the Minister of Rites, nor had he heard of it. It's really too profound. It's too obscure. Of course, this does not prevent Zhu Yuanzhang from judging Zhu Yunxuan's literary talent. Seeing Zhu Yunxuan's sensitive response to these questions and his fluent response, Zhu Yuanzhang remembered Zhu Yunwen's performance again. Zhu Yunwen is just a passing family. Yunxian, you did a good job and one face for Grandpa Huang. Zhu Yunxian smiled and saluted old Zhu. Grandpa Huang, these are all pediatrics, it's not a big deal. Zhu Yuanzhang and the Minister of Rites were immediately shocked. Zhu Yuanzhang was somewhat shocked by this newly recognized grandson. Is this a pediatrician? How come I don't know? Am I not even as good as a child? This bastard. Of course, this bastard is completely different from the one who used to curse the Minister of Rites before. It's a huge difference. Son of a bitch, it's a complete affirmation and kindness towards Zhu Yunxuan's performance. The smile on the corner of Zhu Yuanzhang's mouth couldn't be concealed. One's own grandson can receive recognition from the court's great scholars. Make Lao Zhu feel twice as proud. However, Zhu Yunwen, the troublemaker, couldn't accept these things. His heart is filled with dissatisfaction and resentment. Grandpa Huang's praise can only belong to me, Zhu Yunwen. What are you, Zhu Yunxian? Why are you competing with me? Grandpa Huang, Brother Xian only answered 10 questions correctly. Like me, there's nothing to praise. Perhaps he worked hard to memorize in advance and prepared for this test. Zhu Yunxian looked at this sand sculpture big brother. I really don't know what to say. Give it a try to memorize. Give you 10 years to see if you can answer all of them correctly. However, looking at Zhu Yunwen's expression of dissatisfaction, Zhu Yunxian just gave a faint smile. Since you want to die. That's not my fault. Lao Zhu looked at Zhu Yunwen, who was stiff-lipped and jumping sideways. Also somewhat speechless. At this moment, old Zhu developed a slight aversion towards his beloved grandson Zhu Yunwen. Does this performance really have the aura of a crown prince? Zhu Yuanzhang has some doubts. However, despite his outstanding performance today, Emperor Zhu Yunxian still had a calm expression that he couldn't understand. Old Zhu had even greater expectations for Zhu Yunxuan's strength. Since Zhu Yunwen provoked, he decided to go with the flow and push the boat. Try Zhu Yunxuan's abilities again. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets, thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 7 Compared to Articles. The unparalleled literary talent amazed the Ministry of Rites. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Zhu Yunxuan's face remained calm, making it difficult to tell his thoughts. Yunwen. Since you don't approve of Yunxuan's performance, let's continue to compete, let's see who has a stronger literary ability, and let Grandpa Huang distinguish whether Yunxian cheated. As for cheating, Lao Zhu no longer believed it. Will someone who can answer difficult questions fluently cheat? However, in order to test Zhu Yunxuan's true abilities, Zhu Yuanzhang decided to follow Zhu Yunwen's tone first. Zhu Yunwen saw that Grandpa Huang still believed in himself. We continue to maintain a skeptical attitude towards Zhu Yunxuan's cheating. Suddenly, a smile broke out on her face. Grandpa Huang still likes me. Grandpa Huang, I was supposed to compete with Brother Xian to write an article. But writing articles takes too long, I think. Zhu Yunwen's words have not been finished yet. Just interrupted by Zhu Yunxian raising his hand. What takes too long to write an article? It's because your level is too poor. Just write an article. Zhu Yuanzhang was taken aback by Zhu Yunxuan's domineering tone. Is it so arrogant? I haven't waited for Lao Zhu's reaction yet. Zhu Yunxian waved his hand and patted the attendant of the Ministry of Rites who had been kneeling all along. You go, get me a pen and paper. As for why the Minister of Rites should go. It was indeed Zhu Yunxian who saw the Minister of Rites kneeling on the ground, his already shaky body, and couldn't help but feel a little worried. The Minister of Rites appears to be around 50 years old. Zhu Yunxian was worried that the old man would soon faint. Think about it, with the personality of Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang. I will definitely not consider the situation of the old man, the Minister of Rites. After fainting, he may still be carried out by someone ordered by Zhu Yuanzhang. So, at this moment, Zhu Yunxian asked the Minister of Rites to stand up and get a pen and paper, which was also helping him. Upon hearing Zhu Yunxuan's words, the kneeling attendant of the Ministry of Rites listened to fairy music. Busy nodded and said yes. The attendant of the Ministry of Rites, who had been enduring the pain in his knee and paying close attention to the situation inside the hall, didn't know Zhu Yunxuan's intentions. My heart is filled with gratitude to Zhu Yunxian. But Zhu Yuanzhang's eyes twitched slightly without stopping. What kind of person is Lao Zhu and how rich his life experiences are? The Minister of Rites knelt down, and Zhu Yuanzhang naturally remembered it in his heart. Zhu Yunxuan's intention was well understood by Lao Zhu. As a result, Zhu Yuanzhang became even more impressed by Zhu Yunxian. Observing details and paying attention to details is Lao Zhu's first affirmation of Zhu Yunxian. Conquering people's hearts and offering small favors to court officials is Lao Zhu's second affirmation of Zhu Yunxian. Inadvertent behavior, originating from sincerity and with benevolence deep within, is Lao Zhu's third affirmation of Zhu Yunxian. What a great grandson with a delicate heart. How could Zhu Yunxian know that his unintentional behavior would allow Zhu Yuanzhang to judge so many of his excellent qualities? There will be so much affirmation for him. Zhu Yunxian didn't even notice Lao Zhu's expression. It is even more impossible to discover Zhu Yunwen's eagerness for quick success and instant benefits. Quickly, the Minister of Rites brought along all the pens, ink, paper, and inkstones. In fact, after he got up, the eunuch who had been standing by had already prepared pen, ink, paper, and inkstone supplies. Just handing it to the Minister of Rites. Come to Zhu Yunxuan's side. The Minister of Rites respectfully handed over the things in his hand. This kind of respect is his heartfelt gratitude to Zhu Yunxian. It's also his gratitude. Zhu Yunxian didn't care about these. He reached out and spread out the rice paper in his hand. I started writing with a carefree expression. Aspiration, without ambition, there is nothing that can be achieved in the world. Although there are various skills and techniques, there is no one who is not based on ambition. Diligent in learning, who has aspired to become a gentleman, should engage in learning. If one does not study diligently, their aspirations must be steadfast. Correction is inevitable for those who have made mistakes, but it does not harm their depth to become great sages. Zhu Yunxuan wrote thousands of words in a short period of time. This is Wang Yangming's article. Wang Yangming is known as a saint. That article is naturally an unparalleled literary talent, an unparalleled article. Just the intention is beyond the reach of ordinary people. From ambition to diligence in learning. From improvement to responsibility. When Zhu Yunxuan wrote an article, he also felt the profound connotation of the article. The confidence in his literary talent made Zhu Yunxuan seem to radiate a profound and mysterious radiance. The Minister of Rites, who had been staring intently at the article on the side. The more you look, the more shocked you become, and the more you look, the more your soul shakes. He is certain that this article is unparalleled in the world today. As a great Confucian, he was well versed in poetry and books. He has never seen this article before. Can it be said that this was done by the grandson of Zhu Yunxuan in front of him? Suddenly, the Minister of Rites knelt down again with a thud. Your Majesty, please ask Rong Xuchen a question to Emperor Xian's grandson. Zhu Yuanzhang's face was now full of smiles. Although he couldn't understand the article written by Zhu Yunxuan. But he can understand the look in his eyes. Looking at the Minister of Rites, who is in his 50s. A face full of shock. Those eyes are even bigger than cows. Old Zhu knew that it must be Zhu Yunxuan who came up with another masterpiece. Let this great scholar be frightened. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 8. Royal Gifts, Zhu Yuanzhang's most painful thing. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Zhu Yuanzhang still underestimated the article written by Zhu Yunxuan. You ask. We haven't stopped your mouth yet. If you have something to say, let go of it. The Minister of Rites thought to himself. You don't agree, how dare I say anything casually? If I can't say it well, I'll lose my head. But I dare not say that. Since Zhu Yuanzhang agreed, the Minister of Rites asked him the question he most wanted to ask. His Highness, may I ask if this is your masterpiece? Zhu Yunxuan is blowing air at the ink on the rice paper. Your Excellency, if you think it is, then it is. If you think it is not, then it is not. Zhu Yunxuan gave an ambiguous answer. After all, it is a masterpiece by Wang Yangming, a master of the late Ming dynasty's psychology. It's not necessary to claim that plagiarism belongs to oneself. The significance of this article to Zhu Yunxuan is nothing more than slapping his despicable face. However, the Minister of Rites did not think so. Combining with Zhu Yunxuan's previous performance in answering the classics of the 4 books and 5 classics. The Minister of Rites fully affirmed in his heart that this newly written article is the work of Zhu Yunxuan. Your Highness, you are truly a talented individual, the first genius in a century. Oh. No, it's not 100 years, you're the first genius in the world. Throughout history, the greatest genius in the world. Speaking, he turned around and knelt in front of Zhu Yuanzhang, his voice trembling as he said. Your Majesty, I am fortunate to have such a genius as Emperor Xian and his grandson. Wei Chen's admiration for Emperor Xian and son's 5 body throwing himself to the ground. Zhu Yuanzhang's smile was about to fade away. The corners of my mouth are almost pulling to the base of my ear. Okay. It's my great-grandson. At this moment, Zhu Yunxuan was no longer arrogant, but rather said with some humility. Grandpa Huang, these are all pediatrics, don't worry. Or pediatrics. Bunny, can you die without blowing? Zhu Yuanzhang can't hold on any longer. Zhu Yunxuan stared fixedly at the article he had just written on the rice paper as the Minister of Rites. Listening only to the trembling voice of the Minister of Rites, he kept muttering. This character is really excellent. It's written so well. What a master of calligraphy. This is the thin golden body of Emperor Huizong of Song. The Minister of Rites seemed to have discovered some treasure. Even Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, who had been standing by his side, had forgotten. Completely immersed in the spiritual world of an old literary man, unable to extricate oneself. That's right, the font used by Zhu Yunxuan is the thin gold font of Emperor Huizong of Song. Although Zhu Yunxuan greatly despised Emperor Huizong of Song. However, it does not hinder his appreciation of the artistic font of thin gold font. With the bonus of the Wenqing template. Zhu Yunxuan knows too many fonts. Wang Shiji, Yan Jinqing, Lu Gongquan, and Zhao Mengfu all know. Even the flying white body that Emperor Taizong of Tang, Li Shimin, was proficient in, just like Zhu Yunxuan. However, when writing, the thin gold body of Emperor Huizong of Song was chosen. The thin gold font is indeed beautiful. It can be seen from the complete obsession and immersion of the Minister of Rites in front of me. At this time, it was rare for our great Zhu Yuanzhang not to develop any disgust towards the Minister of Rites, it's just that Emperor Zhu Yunxuan has given him too much face. After all, the Minister of Rites has been an official for many years and has rich life experience. After a long time, I finally forced myself out of my addiction. At this moment, he finally realized. Zhu Yuanzhang is right beside him. The Minister of Rites quickly knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, I apologize for my impoliteness. Please make amends, Your Majesty. The handwriting of the Emperor's grandson is really excellent. Of course, Your Highness' article is even better. Zhu Yuanzhang laughed heartily. He also approached and followed the Minister of Rites to admire the authenticity of Zhu Yunxuan. Zhu Yunxuan was really speechless. Isn't it just a pair of characters? As for what? Grandpa Huang, since the Minister of Rites likes it so much, I'll give him this pair of characters. What? Did you give it to him? What? Did you give it to me? Zhu Yuanzhang and the Minister of Rites spoke in unison. Zhu Yunxuan said calmly. Yeah, it's rare to meet someone you like. What's so great about giving a calligraphy and painting as a gift? This. Zhu Yuanzhang hesitated a bit. After all, this is the first authentic work of the Imperial grandson, although Zhu Yuanzhang did not understand. But he also fell in love with it from the love of the Ministry of Rites attendant. He is a big and rough person, and he can also see the charm of a thin and golden body. It's really beautiful. However, as soon as I fell in love, I was given away by the Imperial grandson. Zhu Yuanzhang had difficulty speaking. I am the Emperor, how can I compete with ministers for things? Especially seeing the earnest gaze of the Minister of Rites. Finally, he nodded. Okay. Then I'll give it to you. Our grandson's unparalleled masterpiece is a great gift for you, you old man. It's really a waste of time. After speaking, Zhu Yuanzhang added a sentence. You old man, thank you. I heard that you old man has a granddaughter who is as beautiful as a fairy. As Zhu Yunxuan saw his grandfather Zhu Yuanzhang's words becoming increasingly outrageous, he quickly interrupted and said. Grandpa Huang, let someone frame this painting for the attendant. Our royal family should not be too shabby when giving gifts. Although Zhu Yuanzhang was very painful. But in the end, Zhu Yunxuan's work was still given to the Minister of Rites. Everyone is in a cheerful atmosphere. Except for Zhu Yunwen. He waved his hand a few times, ready to interrupt the harmonious atmosphere in front of him. The results were all ignored. Zhu Yunwen couldn't help but go all out. Grandpa Huang, I'm not convinced. Grandpa Huang, I'm not convinced. Grandpa Huang, I'm not convinced. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 9. Making 7-Step Poems. Zhu Yunwen's Foolishness. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Zhu Yunwen's voice was like a mouse droppings, and he immediately threw it into the delicious soup. Suddenly, the soup is not good. Zhu Yuanzhang frowned. Zhu Yunxuan looked at Zhu Yunwen with some surprise. Why is this guy still here? Has your face not been smashed yet? Seeing everyone looking at him together, Zhu Yunwen couldn't help but blush. He doesn't know why he wants to say, disagree. In short, he was very unhappy when he saw Zhu Yunxuan in the spotlight. On a whim, he said that sentence. At this moment, everyone is watching. Zhu Yunwen became panicked instead. Me. I. Zhu Yuanzhang said displeased. What are you? Yunwen, what are you dissatisfied with? Yunxuan's article is not good. Can you match it? Yunxuan's handwriting is not good, can you write it? Zhu Yuanzhang asked 3 questions in a row, and Zhu Yunwen wanted to find a crack in the ground to get in. He dare not say that Zhu Yunxuan's writing is not good. He himself said that he didn't have enough time to write the article. As a result, Zhu Yunxuan was an unparalleled masterpiece on the spot. Even the great Confucian became a fan of Zhu Yunxuan. When the article was written, Zhu Yunwen felt his face being slapped back and forth, swollen. However, all the words were spoken. Zhu Yunwen could only grit his head and persevere. Grandpa Huang, although Zhu Yunxuan has written articles, he seems to have some level of proficiency. Grandpa Ku, do you think Zhu Yunxuan is a grandson who doesn't even leave the Imperial city? How could he have such literary talent? To be honest, he stole an article from somewhere in advance. When I mention it, I immediately express it. Clearly, there is an ulterior motive behind it. Zhu Yuanzhang's face gradually became displeased. Emperor Zhu Yunwen, who has always been doted on by himself, is such a troublemaker. I learned it thoroughly without distinguishing right from wrong. However, Zhu Yuanzhang looked at Zhu Yunxuan, who was targeted by Zhu Yunwen. Still so calm and gentle. Zhu Yuanzhang was also somewhat unhappy. How can this emperor and grandson be more calm than us? I was originally planning to criticize Zhu Yunwen. After some thought, old Zhu also imitated Zhu Yunxuan's appearance. Quietly speaking. Yunwen, what do you need to do to prove Yunxuan's talent? Let's listen. Zhu Yunwen saw that Grandpa Huang still supported him, and once again had 100 times more confidence. Grandpa Huang, I think it's nothing compared to articles. I want to compare myself to Brother Xian in poetry. Zhu Yunxuan, who was indifferent on the side, wanted to laugh. Write poetry. Zhu Yunwen, it's truly you. You're not going to break your face, you're not going to die, are you? What poetry can you create? I have never heard in history that Emperor Jianwen Zhu Yunwen could write poetry. Zhu Yuanzhang now has a slight liking for Zhu Yunxuan. This grandson whom I have never valued. Let him have a long face today. So, Zhu Yuanzhang was not sure if Zhu Yunxuan could write poetry. He no longer wants Zhu Yunxuan to make a fool of himself. Unexpectedly, Zhu Yunxuan was greeted with a smirk on his face. Zhu Yunxuan said. Write poetry. No problem. Let me compare my poetry with Zhu Yunwen. Zhu Yunwen was immediately overjoyed. Okay. Brother Xian, how do we write poetry? Zhu Yunxuan said calmly. Whatever. You can still write a ghost poem. Zhu Yunxuan's words ignited Zhu Yunwen's patience. Brother Xian, you are so arrogant. Don't blame your brother for being impolite. There is a 7-step poem by Chao Ji of the 3 kingdoms in ancient times. Brother Xian, let's also write poems in 7 steps. 7-Step Poem. Zhu Yunxuan really convinced Zhu Yunwen, this old 6. You are looking for death. The attendant of the Ministry of Rites, who had been caressing the rice paper roll, remained silent and shook his head slightly after listening to Zhu Yunwen's words. Huang Zicheng is also somewhat knowledgeable. Why didn't you teach Emperor Yunwen to pay attention to the occasion when speaking? Sure enough, Zhu Yuanzhang's face beside him was as black as the bottom of a pot. A cold gaze occasionally appeared at the corner of the eye, occasionally scanning towards Zhu Yunwen. Zhu Yunwen said 7-step poetry at this time. Don't even think about the background of the 7-step poem at that time. And the content of the 7-step poem. The 7-step poem is a poem written by Chao Pai, the son of Cao Cao, during the Three Kingdoms period, in order to force Cao Ji to die. This is a story of sibling violence. And Zhu Yunwen and Zhu Yunxian happen to be brothers. Isn't that to say, Zhu Yunwen couldn't tolerate Zhu Yunxian at all? Zhu Yuanzhang has limited culture, but he is extremely interested in historical allusions. I happen to know the story of the 7-step poem. Zhu Yuanzhang, who came from a commoner background, attached great importance to the harmony between his children. Zhu Yunwen's words happened to touch Zhu Yuanzhang's scales. As for Zhu Yunwen, he knew nothing about it at this time. He is still speaking wildly to Zhu Yunxian. Brother Xian, do you agree or not? Are you afraid? Zhu Yunxian shook his head slightly. Stupid pig. No wonder after ascending the throne, the fiefdoms were immediately abolished. The purpose of reducing fiefs is correct. Unfortunately, Zhu Yunwen's approach is too brainless. Since you must provoke me, then wake up, you stupid pig. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets. Thank you for your support. Please give me some flowers and give me feedback to support it. Thank you. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress. Chapter 10. A Song of Lime, Writing a Poem to Quickly Kill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhu Yunxian looked at the arrogant Zhu Yunwen and said calmly. Don't talk nonsense, will you come first or will I come first? Zhu Yunwen was afraid that his poetry would once again catch the attention of Zhu Yunxian. Hurry up and say you'll come first. Tai Yi Ching Bo Jing. Ping, where is the beautiful scenery of this night? The lake is filled with stars and the autumn is cold, and 10,000 golden lotus flowers shine all night long. Chasing the waves and startled the gulls, the light and shadow were dazzling, and they walked lightly against the reeds in the wind. What's the use of burning silver candles for boating? The upper and lower flower houses reflect the glory of the moon. Zhu Yunwen read while the eunuch wrote beside him. After reading it, Zhu Yunwen looked high and proud. This is the most praised poem he has written by the teachers. Speaking at such a critical moment is to make Zhu Yuanzhang happy. At this moment, Zhu Yunwen waited too long. Overall, this poem is still well written. The Minister of Rites nodded slightly as he listened. Zhu Yuanzhang was not proficient in poetry, so he nodded at the Minister of Rites. It seems that poetry is still possible. Zhu Yuanzhang also nodded. However, the competition of 7-step poems made Zhu Yuanzhang feel like a thorn in his throat. At this point, he was already disgusted by Zhu Yunwen. Meanwhile, in his heart, Zhu Yuanzhang did not realize that this was a good poem. In the poem, what tay, what beautiful scenery, what golden lotus, what silver candle, what flower house. Zhu Yuanzhang frowned upon hearing this. Although he didn't understand, Zhu Yuanzhang knew that these words were all descriptions of entertainment. A great-grandson, so proficient in playing. Obviously, Zhu Yuanzhang could imagine what Zhu Yunwen's usual hobbies and life were like. What's the use of you, such a bastard? Zhu Yunxian naturally saw the change in Grandpa's expression. Knowing that Lao Zhu could not agree with such poetic lines that were all about entertainment. Looking at Zhu Yunwen with a face full of madness, Zhu Yunxuan's eyes became somewhat sympathetic. Hey! Heavenly wrongdoing is especially acceptable, self-wrongdoing is unacceptable. And Zhu Yunwen finally had the opportunity to show off. Nature will not let it go. Brother Xian, look at how well I've done this poem. Zhu Yunxian sneered without hesitation. In my opinion, your poem is like shit. Sudden vulgar words. Directly leaving Zhu Yunwen speechless. Brother Xian. You're impolite now. If you have the ability, you can write it. Zhu Yunxian looked at Zhu Yuanzhang and the Minister of Rites, both staring at him. A faint smile. Zhu Yunwen, you said you can't do it, but you still don't agree. Someone, bring a pen and paper. As soon as Zhu Yunxian finished speaking, the Minister of Rites went to pick up a pen and paper. This reaction speed. Don't look at that head of white hair. No one can really determine his age. Quickly, the Minister of Rites took a pen and paper from the eunuch's hand. Arriving again in front of Zhu Yunxian. Respectfully lay out the rice paper. Then, grind the ink well and moisten the pen well. Xian Huangsun, here, your pen. The Minister of Rites respectfully handed the pen in his hand to Zhu Yunxian. My pen. It sounds really awkward. Zhu Yunxian is also not talking nonsense. Take a pen and write on rice paper. This time it's poetry, with fewer sentences. Zhu Yuanzhang followed Zhu Yunxuan's writing and recited the poems. Lime chant. 1,000 hammers and 10,000 chisels have dug deep mountains, and the blazing fire burns like a leisurely journey. I'm not afraid of breaking my bones and body, I want to keep my innocence in the world. The last one is finished. The Minister of Rites shouted excitedly, good poetry. Good poetry. Good handwriting. Good handwriting. Zhu Yuanzhang also looked shocked. The sentences in this poem are extremely easy to understand. Zhu Yuanzhang fully understood the meaning in the poem. I only heard the trembling voice of the Minister of Rites say, Your Majesty, this is a wonderful poem. It may seem like there are only 2 sentences, but in reality, the inside is grand and majestic. This poem, literally, praises lime, but in reality, it uses objects to symbolize people and objects to express emotions. In fact, it expresses the noble ideals of His Highness, the Crown Prince. The entire poem is condensed in brushwork, completed in one go, with a simple and natural language, without any embellishment. Especially showcasing His Royal Highness Son's proactive attitude towards life and fearless righteousness, I greatly admire him. However, the flattery of the Minister of Rites made Zhu Yuanzhang's heart burst with joy. Zhu Yuanzhang knew that Zhu Yunxuan's lime chant was well written. But I don't know where to go. Listen to what the Minister of Rites said. I suddenly felt the profound meaning in the poem. Zhu Yunxian felt a bit embarrassed when he heard the constant praise from the Minister of Rites. Sorry, Yu Xiaobao, Yu Qian. Only your poetry can showcase my Zhu Yunxuan's attitude towards life. That's right, this poem is Yu Qian's lime chant. The Minister of Rites said to Zhu Yuanzhang. Your Majesty, look at the different characters used by His Highness Son this time. This is Wang Shiji's regular script, Your Highness wrote it so well. I wonder if Your Highness can take this painting. No way. Zhu Yuanzhang decisively rejected the unreasonable request that the Minister of Rites was about to make on behalf of Zhu Yunxian. Just now you snatched Yunxian's article, and now you want to snatch his poetry. Are you not good at being our knife? Zhu Yuanzhang's domineering refusal immediately made the Minister of Rites dare not speak again. I can only feel regretful in my heart. This lime song has no connection with me. And there was a troublemaker who was overlooked by everyone. At this moment, Zhu Yunwen's complexion was even more purple than pig liver. How could it be? How could this be possible? Writing poetry, I was once again defeated by Zhu Yunxian. Is Zhu Yunxuan born to conquer me? No, I have to win back Grandpa Huang's favor. Grandpa Huang, I'm not convinced. Zhu Yunwen exclaimed loudly. P.S. On the first day of the new book, please collect flowers, review tickets, thank you for your support. Please give me some flowers and give me feedback to support it. Thank you. Your support is my inexhaustible driving force for progress.